I want to start this episode with something I don't hear others say out loud. You matter. Not because you're a more effective mom when you're rested, not because your kids need you whole, though both of those things are true, but because you are a human being and your life belongs to you. The calling to motherhood is real and fierce and beautiful, but it doesn't require you to disappear inside it. Those two things are both true too, and almost nobody in the homeschool space is willing to say the second one without immediately referring or qualifying it with the first. 2 weeks ago, I introduced you to a mom named Sherry, and I want to return to her and her story because what she shared she wanted before we began our coaching together was that she was looking for hope. Just hope. But after our time together, she wrote this to me. This retreat time is for anyone who has lost sight of themselves while living a busy life, changing their defeat into delight for the first time or once again. Defeat into delight. That's what today is all about. Today I'm going to share 8 things I see happening in the homeschool moms I work with, things that are keeping them stuck, exhausted, and disconnected from the life they really want. And I want you to notice which one makes you breathe a sigh of relief, because that's the one that's been waiting to be named in your life. Welcome to the Homeschool Mom Podcast, a space for moms who look capable on the outside, but feel scattered, depleted, or unsure on the inside. I'm Teresa Wiedrick, graduated homeschool mom, certified life coach, and author of the book Homeschool Mama Self-Care, Nurturing the Nurturer. I began homeschooling for freedom's sake. By year 3, I was buried under mental load, perfectionistic tendencies, and the invisible pressure to get it all right. Everything shifted when I learned to trust myself and pay attention to what actually worked for us. Here's what I know after years of doing this work. Most homeschool support focuses outward on curriculum, routines, schedules, methods. My work focuses inward on the woman running it all. Because homeschool overwhelm rarely has anything to do with the curriculum itself. It has everything to do with the pressure, perfectionism, and old scripts that we carry inside. When we nurture the nurturer, everything changes. Before I get into those 8 things, I want you to know that I'm not speaking from the outside looking in. If you've been hanging out with me for a good long time, then you know my pancake story, that 3rd-year homeschool story that I often refer to. If you haven't met me, hi. I have a pancake story in my 3rd year of homeschooling. Here's what it looks like. In essence, I wake up Monday morning hoping to put my plan into action. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a lot of cool ideas. We just moved to a different part of the province, temporarily. We're on an adventure, but I don't even know where the grocery store is at this point, and it's in the middle of slump month, February. The kids didn't know yet that the weekend has stopped. I also woke up late. Why I was so tired the night before? Debatable. Could have been that I was premenstrual, or maybe that I still hadn't slept through the night because my youngest was still little, or maybe it was because I had an argument with my husband that took a lot of energy from me. So many possibilities, but I knew I didn't sleep well the night before. I wake up late. I see the cold cup of coffee on the side table, rings underneath. Clearly my kids were generously bringing me a cup of coffee. And I hear clattering in the kitchen. My head feels full. It feels as foggy as the outdoors. But I get up. I take that cup of coffee into the kitchen to get a refresh. And I realize that the kids are fighting over the pancake flipper. They both want to flip pancakes. And they're trying to help their little siblings because breakfast wasn't made yet. I slept in. I was agitated by the noise and the energy, but somehow we kept it all together until probably 10-20 minutes later, we go into the family room where I am asking everybody to get ready to do our morning basket, probably a read aloud. 2 kids playing at my feet with Legos, and 2 kids sitting beside me or trying to sit beside me, but arguing over the seat beside me. And there was something just flipped in me. I don't really remember what exactly I said to myself at that time. I just remember getting really frustrated and speaking really angrily and realizing that whoever was speaking that loud should probably take a breather, and understanding that it was me. I was the one that was angry in the room. So I turned on my heels and I left the room because I knew nothing good was going to happen after that. And when I spent time in my room and after I texted with my friend who told me I should check out this Brené Brown TEDx talk, I listened to the TEDx talk and something clicked. I wasn't taking care of myself. In fact, I'm not sure I even knew who I was and what I needed. But I was exasperated and overwhelmed. I had no sense of myself or what I needed. And I certainly didn't have myself on the list of all the activities that needed to be done that morning or any day that week at all. If you've been here a while, you've probably heard me say that story a lot. That story really impacted me. I since have had many conversations with many women that I've coached, and I've had conversations about that story with my daughters. I've had that conversation with women who are coaching in other communities of women. And every single one of them says, oh, I get that story. I identify with that story. You want to know what the bigger picture for me was around this story? It wasn't just because I was determined to offer them a private school at home, though I was, an 8 to 4 private school, which I accomplished for almost 3 or 4 years. Every day, 3 read-alouds, history and science, geography, logic, critical thinking skills, geography. Did I say geography? I had much to learn, lots of geography. Also Latin and French and various languages depending on what country we were traveling to. If there was a subject that I wasn't familiar with, I was determined to include it. And because I was definitely trying to figure out the gaps in my own education and give them what I didn't have, I definitely was trying to give them everything in the full-time hours of our Monday to Fridays. But you know what I was also trying to fill in as a gap? Everything I didn't get when I was a kid. Tall orders. I was trying to give myself and give my kid everything I didn't get. It's why I named my website Capturing the Charmed Life. And why I refuse to change the name. Because though we'll never get to that place of having the perfectly charmed life, we want to create this beautiful life for ourselves and our kids. And that's a beautiful goal. But the reality, my bigger picture, was that I was trying to fill in gaps to that big, beautiful life for both me and the kids. I wonder if you've experienced this call to motherhood. When I first even considered what I'd want to do when I grew up, I actually wanted to be a physician, married a physician. Now have a kiddo that's going through pre-med, hoping to do the same. What I really wanted to do, which I would have given anything for, was to be a mother. I felt an incredible calling to motherhood. And it's not just because I was trying to recreate something I couldn't have. That was part of it. But also, and more importantly, I've always felt compelled to nurture. That was my calling long before my first baby was conceived. Every month, for 4 months, that I didn't find out there was a positive on that pregnancy test, I was deflated. We were ready to have our little one, and I was so eager to begin this motherhood journey. I remember coming out of our 2-bedroom apartment bathroom with that wand in hand, and I showed my husband, I think it's positive. And we watched together that it went positive and the feelings that I felt. Do you remember that? The first moment when you saw your positive pregnancy test? I hope it was a good one. For me, it really was. I was so delighted. My baby, I thought he was inside of me. And in 9 months, we'd meet him. Caleb James. Wasn't Caleb James. It was Hannah. And All the old wives' tales told me that it surely would be a boy, but they were all wrong. I remember feeling a fierceness about wanting to do this motherhood thing perfectly, without gaps. I wanted to nurture the little ones that I was given. For some reason, I had the notion that I would have 10 kids. I wrote that in my high school yearbook. Not sure why I wrote that. Not sure where that came from, but I think at the end of it all, I had 4 babies, and I was so grateful for the moment that I got to meet my baby Hannah. I felt the calling of motherhood, and I was rip-roaring ready to go. I wanted to give them everything. I never wanted to miss a beat. I wanted to make sure that they knew they were always loved, all the time, no matter what. Who knew that I'd also have to learn that I was a human with needs too, not only a mother. If I wanted to fully engage my life, be fully available to them, enjoy the privileges of this home education experience, because there are so many, then I would have to do more than just add a few self-care strategies and an hour away each week to my schedule to address what I needed so I could show up fully present, not pressured. Fast forward a solid 10 years as me and my 4 kids are sitting around me, 2 at my feet with the Lego, 2 fighting over a seat beside me as I'm reading. I had no idea that at that time I had to learn that I was a human with needs too. I wanted to give my kids everything. I wanted to mother them perfectly. I wanted to do everything right by them and give them the world. But I too was a human with needs, and until that point, I was an afterthought to my own life. I learned that if I wanted to fully engage my life and enjoy all the privileges of this home education experience, I'd have to do a whole lot more than just a few self-care strategies and take an hour away each week from my schedule. I'd have to acknowledge who I was beyond mom, what I needed, what I really wanted. And I'd have to learn that taking care of me wasn't just for me. It was the most important thing I could do for my kids. So let's talk about those 8 things that I see homeschool moms most often grappling with. The first one is emotional and mental exhaustion. They're pushing beyond their capacity, not treating themselves like a human being who has needs. They're white-knuckling their way through motherhood. You are a mother, so therefore you must serve, nurture, provide. And though that calling is beautiful, you've disappeared inside it. If you're agitated, more often than not, if you're frustrated with yourself and how you're showing up, or you know you're not listening to your kids the way you really should be, you're never getting things done the way that you want. You have a deep desire to do this homeschool thing, but doing it in a way where you feel really present with your kids, you just don't know how. You're depleted, and you don't know how to put yourself on your own to-do list. This often takes a toll on your body, not just your mind. You might not be doing the basics for yourself, like exercising or going to bed at a reasonable time and waking up at a time where you actually feel rested. It might be really hard for you to keep focus and to move to the next activity intentionally because there's always something else to do. What's the first thing you sacrifice when things get really intense or your to-do list feels like it's always behind? It's you, right? You feel pressured because you're not addressing your emotions. You're not treating yourself like a human who has needs. The second thing that I often see with moms is that you're so deep in the homeschool mom role that you've forgotten who you are as a woman. You've disappeared in your own life. Do you remember who you were when you were 8? Who was she? What did she love to do? She has an opportunity right now to be present with her children and play and pursue her own creativities and just fall down rabbit holes that she's intrigued by. When did you last do something purely because you wanted to? Just because you thought that would be fun? You can have a seat at your homeschool table too. And when I say that, what does that really mean for you? What would you like to include again in your life? The third thing that I often see is that there isn't a routine that works. And often that's One of the first things that moms speak to me is that they need a more effective routine. But actually, yes, but also no. It's not really about the routine. It's about getting clear on what matters most. What matters most to you, your kids, your partner, and your intention around their education. We often get ideas about routines and methods from a variety of places. Maybe we hear about a particular method. I know a lot of people love Charlotte Mason, me too. And then we grab a certain book, which I won't name in particular here, but certain book that has it all written down in a schedule, and we're going to transfer that to our own paper with our own kids' names and then put it onto the fridge with a magnet. And that is how we're going to build our lives around that routine. But there's a problem. Often it doesn't include you in that routine at all. You haven't asked yourself what matters most. What matters most for your kids' education, or for you, or all the extras that come with the reality of a mom life. You need margins, not just to breathe, not just to have emotional space, but also because it takes kids a while to gather all their things before they get into the car so that you can get to soccer practice on time with the soccer cleats. You need margins, but you also need clarity on what matters most. You can't do everything. Even though somebody's got their kids in jiu-jitsu and you think that would be a fabulous thing for your child, you don't have another place this semester to include it. So then you just can't do it all. Creating a routine that's built on our aspirations isn't enough. It has to be realistic. It has to address our energy, and it also has to address the real kids in front of us. The routines that we create don't always help us function well. But there is also another version of challenge around the discussion of routines, and it wasn't mine, but it is one that I see on repeat with moms who come to say, I have ADHD, I'm challenged by this. And they really do need very black and white, step-by-step plan to create the routine, and then experimenting with the routine and asking, does it actually work in my real life? Why does it work? Why does it not? Do I like it? Do I not? Does my child like it? Do they not? Gathering all that information and then getting clear on what really matters. Creating a routine for a mom who has executive functioning skills can be a challenge, but it also can be done step by simple step. I hear both thoughts across the spectrum. One is that I've got no routine, and that's why I feel guilty, because I'm not actually doing the things that I thought I would do for my kids. I'm kind of getting bored, and I'm restless, and I tell myself I should do something. My husband even asked me to do something, and yet I haven't created a structure that I'm willing to sign up for. And then on the other end of the spectrum is, I'm going to do everything, we're going to do everything, and I'm not really asking what people think. Both can create chaos. What does a routine that honors you and each of your kids look like? The fourth thing that I see is moms that have a loss of motivation, which officially would be called burnout. She started this homeschool journey with fire in her belly. She had a reason, and she is pursuing it with eagerness, but now she's just trying to survive. That happens with moms in their third year, as I often speak to, but it happens to moms all along the journey. There's a reckoning, and the reckoning is what I see as the season where you finally get clear, I'm doing it my way, in a way that serves me and my kids, and for my reasons. There's also the mom who has been doing this so long that she knows she wants this for the younger kids because she did all these amazing things with the older kids, but she's bored by it. She doesn't have the energy for it anymore, and she feels guilty about it. The guilt often says, you gave to your older kids something that you refuse to give your younger kids? Don't you see that you're shortchanging your younger kids? Don't you see that you're not being the same mother for your youngest as you are for your oldest? There's a lot of guilt held there. But those feelings, loss of motivation or boredom, and exhaustion or burnout, that can be pointing to many different things. That might not be about homeschooling at all. There might be some bigger relational issues that you've been challenged by, or you're really stressed by, you fill in the blank, things that have nothing to do with your children. Maybe you're helping with a parent that's unwell, or any number of things could be happening outside of the homeschool routine. Any challenge that could happen to a family or a mother or a child, any of those things are happening inside the four walls of homeschool families. All of those things could be contributing to exhaustion. I wonder what it would feel like for you to be excited about your life again, to be excited about doing this homeschool thing with your kids again. The fifth thing that I see is decision fatigue. The questions don't quiet down. From year to year, you're always asking which curriculum is the right one. Is my child behind? What can I do to make sure that everything is enough for them and that I'm accomplishing the goal that I set out to? Is it really serving them? What if they had to go to school? What if they want to go to school? What if they're transitioning into the high school years? Or how am I going to incorporate the youngest kiddo into the homeschool? What am I going to do to get them prepped for college? There's so many questions, weights of responsibility on your shoulder. And you just circle and circle and circle, and all of that energy of not quite sure what the right next step is clouds all the things. It makes you feel like there's just too much for me to take responsibility for. One of the greatest privileges I have walking alongside women, and by the way, this is why me as a coach, I'm not the same as just your friend, because I got no skin in the game. Your friend, your sister, your relative that you can talk to openly, maybe your husband, all of those people have skin in the game. It really matters to them what happens within the four walls of your home. It really matters about the choices that you make for your kids. I don't have that skin in the game. I hope you have a friend like this, but I know that how I act as a coach is often clarifying. I help people get all their thoughts outside their head into a safe space where they genuinely feel seen and heard, and then they are able to get clear on what matters most. What is the next right step for their child or for them? And when they get that clarity, they get their confidence because they know the next thing they're doing is that step. That's it. They don't have to be concerned about all the other things that might be bidding for their mental attention. They get clarity and confidence. And what does she find underneath all of that when the fog clears? It's just like my experience living in the river valley, not even 100 feet from the river. On those foggy days, we get a lot of fog. As soon as I drive up out of a community road and then onto the main road, up near the mailbox, the fog clears and I see the sky again. I get a stronger sense of direction. The sixth thing that I often see with moms is a sense of isolation. She stepped outside of the traditional school system where we met every morning at Monday, dropping the kids off, 7:30 drop off, pick them up again at whatever o'clock. I've lost track. There's also a common experience of having a common calendar. For instance, spring break, or you know when those professional development days are and when all the kids are going to be available in the playground. There's a common community built in to the schooled world, which we don't necessarily have as moms in the non-schooled world. To be fair, I know that knowing when people are dropping kids off does not mean that you're necessarily feeling connected to other people that are also dropping their kids off to school. But there is certainly a heightened sense of isolation for the moms, not the kids. Here's why. Because you are driving your children to all sorts of places and sitting in the minivan waiting till they're done. There has to be intention building community and connection outside of our homeschool families. It's very easy to get drawn into the activities and not build in time for ourselves to connect with others. When you feel really seen and understood by a community of women who also live this life, that gives you energy, gives you clarity. You're one amongst many who are challenged by these things. You are not alone, and you can do it together. The seventh thing I often see with homeschool moms is that they become, over the course of time, disconnected from why they're doing what they're doing. They lose their vision for what brought them to this path in the first place. Yes, she's doing all the things and she's striving hard to check off the boxes, but she's not really looking at all the tasks and asking herself, am I living my life with purpose? Only you know, and you can feel the difference when you go about your daily activities. You're not also as roiled by the interruptions. Not that interruptions are pleasant, but the interruptions have a place. When your child melts down, it might feel like it's out of place, but it also serves a purpose. You're enabling that child to be heard and seen and understood, and you're also enabling them to learn emotional regulation, to learn a little bit more about themselves, learn how to communicate. And though it doesn't fit into the construct of your to-do list today, it's accomplishing a bigger life purpose. So interruptions feel less troublesome. So I ask you, what was the original reason why you did this homeschool thing? What made you say yes to it? I would love to hear if you'd send me a message, either on socials, Instagram, Facebook, I'm over on YouTube, or you can send me an email. I'd love to hear. Because you know what happens when you reconnect with your why? It feels like that scene out of Snow White. You know, when her Prince Charming kisses her and the whole world becomes bright and colorful and butterflies and birds are buzzing around them. The hills came alive with the sound of music. Yes, I know, I just mixed two movies. That's how it feels, though. Life comes alive for you when you reconnect with why you're doing what you're doing. And the eighth thing I see happening for homeschool moms that I work with, she has a really hard time saying no. She doesn't claim time for herself, but she quietly resents all the work she's doing. And then she feels guilty for resenting others. That cycle is exhausting her. The inability to say no, or to say, I have had enough. I don't need more in my life. No, I cannot include a certain person in my community or in my world. Or no, I don't want to do all the things. No, I cannot do 6 Bible studies. By the way, that is based on a real story. I cannot oversee 2 co-ops and run a theater production at the same time. Also based on a real story. What I see is that women are highly capable as home educating moms. Very capable, and yet not a strong capacity to say, this is not in my bandwidth, or I am occupied on that day, because on that day, I will be doing nothing. I'll be staying at home. That is really hard for moms to do. But that resentment and guilt cycle, she can't say no, she won't claim time for herself, and she quietly resents it, and then feels guilty for the resentment. That cycle, that's exhausting her. But you know what becomes possible when you finally learn how to hold a boundary without collapsing? When you finally hold boundaries that serve you and your kids, you enjoy your life more. You feel more present. You are not resenting people. You recognize what the needs are in front of you, and you address them because you want to. You show up and do some fun stuff because you want to. You enjoy this life and you have energy to do it over the long term. It becomes part of your burnout prevention plan. If you've heard yourself in any of those 8 things today, even just one, I want to tell you about something that I'm hosting this Friday. It is the Reimagine and Renew Retreat. It's 1 focused hour together where we have an honest conversation about what you need. None of the work I do is generic. I sit with the woman in front of me and I listen deeply. But most importantly, I help you to listen to yourself. This is an opportunity for you to listen to yourself. What do you really need? Because you do not need to continue homeschooling on fumes. By the end of our hour together, you're going to have a plan to address this. It'll be super specific, doable. You will walk away from it feeling empowered. For the first time in a long time, you're going to feel like someone asked you how you were doing and actually waited for the answer. And most importantly, you're going to hear yourself speak what you need. But I've learned that if you've resonated with one of the things I've spoken to today and you don't do something, you're just going to keep running on empty. And that resentment is going to continue to build. Your doubts are going to keep getting louder. And the mom that your kids need, the present one, the purposeful one, most importantly, the peaceful one, she's going to stay out of reach. I think they deserve better than that. But I also know you do. You know why I created this retreat back in 2020? Because I kept hearing from moms, not the ones that were just fresh, new to homeschooling, but the ones that had been around for a while. They were just full out of energy. I didn't see anywhere that was addressing this in the homeschool mom life. Oh, I hear a lot of prescriptions for routines, approaches, methods, curriculum, all those things, and it has its place. But I knew my story, that I had to learn to nurture myself in order for me to enjoy my life and truly give from myself to my children. And when I wrote that book, it was really resonant. I heard a lot of feedback from a lot of women that said, thank you for writing this. It really makes me feel seen, to the point that they thought I was actually watching what was going on inside their homes. I am not, although perhaps you could maybe say that I am now, but that's because I'm being told specifically what's going on inside their homes. There are no cameras. I heard back then that it was super resonant for them. And then at the beginning of 2020, when there were challenges much beyond the homeschool experience that were impacting the homeschool mom, that's when I decided I can offer something to these women to help them get clarity, feel confident again, be intentional in their lives, and really enjoy their lives again. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to connect with me. You're going to discover the same thing that everyone does, that I really am the same person here that I am in every other space. Whether you meet me at the grocery store, or you meet me in the collective, or you meet me in coaching, I am your no-nonsense girlfriend who will help you get clear on what matters most for you so you can live your life with intention. Head over to the show notes. There are only 8 spots, and I'd love to see you there. I want to leave you with this today. You are not failing. You are carrying too much. Those are 2 very different things. The version of you that your kids need most, present, purposeful, at peace, she does not appear when you try harder. She appears when you finally give yourself permission to matter in your life too. Sherry came to me looking for hope, and she found it, not because I gave it to her, but because the tools we worked through together helped her to find it in herself. That hope is available to you too. If today's episode resonated, please subscribe. Share it with a homeschool mom who needs to hear this, and come find me in the show notes. If you're ready to go deeper, to untangle your overwhelm and build a homeschool life that feels calm, clear, and sustainable, you're invited to book your free Aligned Homeschool Reset session. Until next time, take care of yourself, nurture the nurturer, and lead your homeschool life from the inside out.